If you clicked into this video just to find out whether Forza Horizon 6 is worth buying, spoilers, yeah, just go do it. You're going to love it, I promise. It looks incredible, you can grab your favourite car and live out whatever ridiculous driving fantasy you want within minutes, and there's so much stuff in here that you're easily going to lose well over 100 hours without really trying. But that's the simple answer. The more interesting answer is that I've not properly cared about any racing game, or cars for that matter, in years. Probably not since I was a teenager, playing Need for Speed Underground and trying to live out my Fast and Furious fantasies.
So forget about it, cuz.
Cut to just a few weeks of playing Forza Horizon 6, and here I am, learning what a differential is, working out how to stop my car spinning out in every corner, and arguing myself that if I did that, have I somehow damaged the spirit of this Porsche? So how did a racing game with an HR-approved exterior that's incredibly easy to get into and seemingly terrified of taking any real risks make me want to trade in my perfectly adequate controller for a set of pedals and a steering wheel? Perhaps Forza's biggest strength for new players is they make it almost impossible for you to fill out of your depth. The difficulty can be changed before individual races, depending how brave you're feeling, and the game arrives with almost every training wheel already attached. A full racing line, braking assistance, steering help, traction control, and the ability to rewind whenever you inevitably barrel into a family of 4. At the extreme, the game can quite literally drive itself. Somebody who's never touched a racing game can choose a car, follow the painted line, and immediately starts doing something that resembles racing, even if there's not a whole lot of input. However, the game can feel aggressively helpful. Open the map and you'll be flooded with races, challenges, collectibles, and whatever brightly coloured object it thinks might hold your attention for another 30 seconds. At times, it feels like an app's noticed you've neglected it and started desperately throwing push notifications at you. But, particularly at the beginning, you cannot say it's not giving you things to do. And look, this is not uncommon in open world games of any genre, but that presentation can be exhausting. However, underneath is a genuinely useful idea. Forza keeps asking you the same question. How much help do you want? Need the braking line? Keep it on. Correct your steering? Fine. Made a complete mess of the corner? Rewind it. Pretend it never happened. Then, once those systems start feeling that bit too helpful, you can begin taking them away. And I recommend that you do, because once you start turning those systems off, the questions the game was answering for you are questions you now have to ask yourself. How late can I brake? Should I turn in yet? Can I get back on the throttle before the exit? Does this car want to rotate or plough straight into this barrier? The same corner that previously amounted to following a coloured line now becomes something you have to read. You start paying attention to the weight of the car, the grip available, and whether the mistake you just made came from the vehicle, the road, or your own stupid hands. This is what makes Forza such a strong entry point. It removes the embarrassment of being terrible at a racing game without removing the eventual satisfaction of getting better at one. Of course, none of that accessibility matters if the cars themselves are not worth driving. Fortunately, Forza gives you an absurd number of very, very good looking reasons to keep going. You're going to be spending a lot of time driving, and for the most part, all these cars feel every bit as good as they look. Now, I think it's fairly obvious that Forza is not trying to reproduce every single detail of driving a real car. You can leave the road at 100 miles an hour, remove several mature trees, and continue with surprisingly little paperwork. This is pure simcade. It's easy to understand, forgiving enough that you get the opportunity to experiment, but with enough depth underneath that there's still plenty to master. Even on controller, the cars feel immediately readable. You can feel the rear beginning to step out, you might catch a mistake and be able to correct it.
Oh, it's one of the... Oh my god, fuck you. Fuck you.
You understand how much you can push a car before it tries to end your life prematurely. And look, I've already said the cars are very nice, but the overall presentation here does a huge amount of work selling the fantasy. Everything feels really lovingly represented, from the aftermarket body kits to the paint jobs to being able to explode the car, as Forza dramatically calls it, to inspect the interior or stare thoughtfully at an engine that I'm completely unqualified to explain. The game makes these cars feel like objects you're supposed to admire and enjoy, not just select from a menu and throw away 5 minutes later. And that is probably why photo mode, of all things, has taken more of my time here than pretty much any other game I've played. I used to take the mick out of friends who spent ages in photo mode. "Oh, you're taking little pictures of your character, are you? Oh, that's very cute." And now, here I am, staring at my own car thinking, "Oh, does this body kit actually complement this livery? Fucking nerd." But that's the thing. The game creates moments you genuinely want to capture. And even though I think some of the social side of this game is severely undercooked, photo mode is less about taking technically impressive screenshots, although a lot of people are very good at this, and more about keeping hold of moments the game would otherwise let disappear. Customization options feed directly into that. There is a solid amount here. Number plates, paints, rims, body kits, spoilers, bumpers, and enough horns to ensure everybody online is going to find a way to annoy you. Then you've got the community liveries. And in many ways, the car and the design you choose start functioning a little bit like the clothes you wear. Perhaps you prefer a muted, refined manufacturer silver. Maybe you want to bring back a classic racing or rally livery from a bygone era. Or perhaps you drive a Supra and plaster the entire thing in anime titties. There really is something here for everyone. This doesn't stop at just the visuals. The sound matters here just as much, if not more. Powerful engines, transmission noise, gravel hitting the bodywork, or tyres changing across difficult surfaces, and the way audio bounces around tunnels all help give each car a sense of personality. There's enough variation that learning one car does not necessarily mean understanding the other. A rear-wheel drive car is not going to behave exactly the same as an all-wheel drive car, and in some cars pressing the accelerator is a request, in others it's a threat. Once you start noticing those small differences, you start caring about whether the individual car you're driving actually feels right. And it's that eventually pushed me into exploring the tuning system. Similar to the community liveries, the tuning system works exactly the same way. If you want to change how your car performs, you can search through a list of pre-tuned community offerings that can do more or less whatever nonsense you have in mind. Drag Miata? Done. Drift Lamborghini? Step right up. Whatever this cursed little number is? Sure. The problem comes when that off-the-shelf car no longer starts to feel like it's yours. And that happened to me with this 1982 Porsche 911 Turbo, a car I'd loved since I was younger. But I thought, let's make an improvement. So I downloaded somebody else's tune. On paper and on the track, it was better, faster, had more grip, and objectively more effective at leaving the AI in my dust. But it felt completely dead. It'd been converted to all-wheel drive and had its engine swapped to I don't know what. Somebody had managed to solve every single weakness of this car by removing most of what made it interesting. And that was the point, where I finally opened the tuning menu, looked at all the complex settings, and promptly closed that menu. No, okay, honestly, I did that the first time, then I accepted I was going to have to go on a journey to learn what any of this meant. Forza does try to explain each setting, but not always exactly how they interact. Using guides externally is almost inevitable. Move one slider and 3 other parts of the car become angry with you. Eventually, every build becomes a kind of negotiation between what the car can do and how you like to drive. Forza's Performance Index, or PI system, tries to group wildly different cars into comparable classes, and for the most part it does allow almost anything to be competitive. But you can start to optimize the character out of a car like I've just explained. The freedom that comes with doing whatever you want is liberating up until more competitive builds move towards the same all-wheel drive answer, or a deeply unsuitable Honda Beat starts embarrassing a Ferrari. So that's where that freedom Forza affords you begin to work against itself. It gives me the tools to develop an attachment to a car, whilst constantly tempting me to replace its personality with a better number. The backdrop for all of this, of course, is Japan, or at least Forza's enormous, overly polished mosaic of it. Visually, the game is just a feast. You've got cherry blossoms, castles, rolling hills, suspended bridges, bamboo forests, and the omnipresent Mount Fuji. It's basically everything you want from Japan, and when the stars align and your freshly tuned car meets the right snaking section of road, this is just peak video gaming. Japanese car mythology has been exported through so many different forms of media. Gran Turismo, Initial D and Wangan Midnight, or the Western imports of Need for Speed and Fast and the Furious. And it's important that the design of Japan hits the right note, because if the actual ground you're driving on fails to capture you, your investment in the rest of the experience is probably going to fall flat. Thankfully, as you would have seen from the clips in this video, the roads and regions do start to develop their own identities. There's mountain routes for the closely fought two-gay races, forest tracks for sideways rally action, and this huge highway network where something fast can finally stretch its legs. But the moment it all really clicked for me didn't actually happen during a formal race or one of the enormous, bombastic showcase events. Early on, a friend and I looked at the map and realised we had not even explored the northern reaches. We both turned up in one of our favourite rally cars, set a waypoint, and then it seems our fun could only be captured through swearing and bird noises.
Holy shit! Oh, it's one of the. Oh my god, fuck you. Fuck you.
The formal and structured races definitely have their moments. Some maps are vastly superior to others, but it's the free roam memories that last a little bit longer. And then while I was recording basic footage for this video, the game produced an even cleaner and more organic example. I was just there filming some B-roll. All of a sudden, another player appears behind me, honk honk, and just drove off. So I obviously followed. And what ensued had no reward tied to it, just two big kids playing tag on the back roads of Japan. These good community moments don't easily become part of the journey within Forza Horizon. That drive existed because two strangers invented it on a whim, and it ended the moment one of us decided to leave the playground. Yet, Forza does so little to foster any of this. Lobbies feel thin, the car meets mostly look like this. Lifeless. And instead of feeling enriched in Japanese car culture, you'll often just feel like a stranger loitering in a parking lot. That gap between what the Sandbox enables and what the game actually develops is where my frustration really begins. Tokyo is the clearest example. This is an iconic city, and from a distance, it is spectacular. But in practice, it often feels like somewhere I'm going to drive through rather than somewhere I drive to. The roads are all extremely wide, presumably to preserve accessibility and accommodate the chaos of online events and races, but having every road so wide removes much of the character I was expected from the city. I kept waiting for those tighter side streets, and yeah, there's a couple. Cut-throughs, underground car parks, or compact routes where the city's car culture might actually gather. Did they not watch Tokyo Drift? The off-road races have a similar problem. There's excellent scenery, but everything is so broad and speed-focused in a world full of roads that seem purpose-built for a few more technical rally stages. And look, there's a lot of variation in the cars here. Classic rally, hypercars, retro supercars, and an apparently inexhaustible supply of buggies. Now look, I do not know how large the silent constituency for off-road buggy events is, but they take a far larger slice of the Forza pie than I expected for something that feels fundamentally one-dimensional. The Japan we get feels less like a place shaped by an authentic existing car culture and more like the safest corporate interpretation playground games would allow. Oh, and don't get me started on the dialogue. It has that "is HR in the room with us" energy at all times. Everyone is so relentlessly safe and supportive, which, to be fair, has helped sell millions of copies, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I suppose. And that's not actually a criticism of the voice actors. I feel like they were just handled a Google Doc full of lines and said, well, just have at it, boys and girls. Just do one pass and we're good. May is always telling you how awesome absolutely everything is with the strained enthusiasm of someone whose family's being held at gunpoint in the next room. In fact, you know what? Just listen to this. Listen.
Hey, day trippers and thrill seekers. Welcome to my day trip. Today we're blessed with a special guest. Please welcome Tamaguchi Keiko-san, whom you may know as one of the faces of Yuji's Auto channel.
Thank you, May. Prepare to be thrilled.
The story missions, meaning the day trips and the drift club, can try and introduce a region, style of driving, or some kind of narrative element, but they often end up becoming just as uninteresting. May might be suggesting this trip we learn about Japanese history and culture, only for our friend Toby to decide that ramming me off a bridge is more culturally significant. And the showcase events have the same split personality. Racing behind a fighter jet or chasing a Gundam is absolute spectacle, but it also leaves you feeling like somebody in a meeting asked, what's recognisably Japanese? Tentacles? No. Alright, Gundam, throw in the big robot, they'll love it. And that same safety continues into the game's campaign, if campaign is even the right word. Wristbands unlock events. Events unlock another wristband. And another list of events. I mean, I'm not a game designer, but imagine a short thread built around a JDM car or classic rally. You begin with it close to stock, tune it over time, carry it through increasingly difficult events. You start to learn that car whilst also watching it evolve. Instead, Forza often throws another Lamborghini into your garage before you've developed any relationship with the 5 you already own. You know, look, that abundance is not inherently bad. Finding your family's Civic or your dad's old Turbo Volvo in game and turning it into a rally monster is part of Forza's appeal, I'm aware of that. And the seasonal playlist is as guilty of this too, often just appearing like a bunch of jobs to do before your favourite reward disappears. And games are not meant to be unpaid jobs. You get given a world and not much of a journey through it, but maybe that's just happenstance of being a sandbox. So what keeps me playing is not the wristbands or the new seasonal battle pass, it's the driving, it's the cars, and eventually creating my own reasons to drive those cars. The official rally events often felt far too broad and purely focused on speed, while I was roaming a map that was full of roads made for hairpins, dirt transitions, blind crests, and narrow sections where mistakes would actually matter. So one road became an idea, that idea became a route, and that route became a 4-stage rally championship. All of this is facilitated by EventLab, which is really Forza Horizon in miniature. Remarkably easy to begin using, and then strangely difficult to finish anything with. Building the stages was clumsy, finding good community events is even harder than it should be, so I've decided to put some of my favourite events and many of the liveries featured in this video in the description. But that also includes my events, so self-promotion and helping the community? Wallop. Despite all this, Forza Horizon 6 is perfect for newcomers and still has enough to offer the more experienced drivers. But it is also incredibly disjointed. The progression lacks any sense of continuity, and parts of the presentation still carry that kind of soulless corporatism.
Thank you, May.
But at its best, it had me studying racing telemetry and actually restored one of those things that's missing in modern games: fun. And at the end of the day, Forza brought me back to a genre that I assumed was just not for me anymore. And that has been more than enough.